Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. Mistake is a nuanced historical drama about an intersex child born in 1941 who is forced to grow up as a man named Larry in the Deep South in the 1970s. As he struggles with self-loathing over his unique and socially forbidden identity, he desperately seeks to find family and friends who will understand and support him. I'll leave it there because we have a conversation with the director and writer and also one of the stars of this wonderful film called Mistake, and that would be Honey Lauren. Honey, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
I guess I'll start with a basic question.
yeah,
What inspired this story? What inspired you to make this film?
absolutely. Well, so I never really understand exactly how ideas come to me, but I can always tell you where the seed of an idea comes from. And in doing so with this film, I had a time growing up in my life where I, from the time I was born to at least 7, I was absolutely convinced that I was a boy, which has nothing to do with intersex in this story. But I was absolutely convinced of that a mistake had been made in my life. And by the time I was 7 to 8, I took that year and I lived as a boy. And this was a long, long, long time ago.
Mhm.
I cut my hair off. I only wore boy clothes, and my name was Lawrence. So later in life, as a writer and storyteller, I always thought that about this identity that lived in me. And while it's not there now per se, it's a part of me. And it always feels like it was just yesterday when I think about this time in my life. So I thought I'd write about it. But true to form, this is a story that came out of me. I say that because I'm not exactly a biographical writer. I don't write like biopics, but I do take elements that are personal and expand upon them, I suppose, in a way that to tell stories.
When people think about gender, but from a personal perspective, I think we are all kind of gauging where we are on the spectrum of gender, right? I think we all kind of do sort of an analysis of where we fit in what I call maximum male and maximum female. There's
Yeah,
sort of a version of that we either identify with in some way or intrigued by in some way.
absolutely. And I think that for myself, excuse me, gender sort of like dysphoria that I was experiencing, which came out in different ways, but Larry was like it. It
Yeah.
was Larry. And it wasn't a tomboy thing or anything like that. It was like a real soul connection. And I don't know what it was, but I think for
Yeah.
someone like yourself to have that kind of awareness, you're way ahead of most people, and not to feel judged by it or in any way ashamed by it, I think is kind of beautiful. I think that the idea of identity and gender, and alienation, which is very much a part of this story, is pretty much a universal topic.
The character of Larry, he's a man's man when we
Yeah.
meet him. Well, I won't give away too much about the very beginning of the film. I think it's a very powerful part of the film. It sets the film in motion, unless you want to discuss sort of at the hospital when Larry is born.
Yeah, sure. So this baby is born in 1941, somewhere in the American South, and this baby's born intersex. He's between the sexes, sexually ambiguous, and they absolutely have to choose the gender of this child. And then 30 years later, with the help of hormone treatment, he's been raised a man. And as you said, he's a very macho, if you will. He's a very powerful, strong man, violent tempers, and there's a lot of what I would call complexities with him. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's just not comfortable.
Now, what happened in 1941? Would that happen today?
It would, absolutely. The difference is that they might be able to do certain tests that might point in the direction that they would choose boy or girl, but maybe not. And I think for the most part, there are very few families that would just let their child grow up and sort of be the way nature made them, which is between the sexes. I I know they're out there. I know people exist where families make that choice, but I think by and large they do choose boy or girl.
Yeah, it's an interesting and provocative part of the, especially at the beginning of the film, in that regard. And I want to talk about the film, but you can't help but want to talk, for me anyway, can't talk about this as sort of a sociological, psychological, physiological kind of framing for this. So let's
Yeah.
just go back to 1941. So there's nothing that was done, would have been done in a surgical or a medical procedure.
To my knowledge, there would have been.
There would have been.
Yeah, if they chose to do, in his case, they made him a boy and they put him on hormone treatment. So,
Okay. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you for that because it opens up to you, you can't help watching the film and sort of step back and wonder, like,
yeah.
how does this play out? And that in and of itself, one of the beautiful things about the film Mistake is that it's going to cause some conversations in this regard.
You
And
know,
hopefully,
I have to say, absolutely. When I first wrote the film and when we were making it, I kept saying there was no wrong choice. Is
yeah,
it a boy or a girl? They had to choose. There was no wrong choice. But by the time we finished making it, I realized there wasn't a right choice either. And that's, I'm sure that's true, for a lot of people who are in his situation. I think that this idea of going back to the way nature makes you in between the sexes and living that way is something that is we just can't wrap our heads around it. And maybe that's the right way,
yeah.
maybe. I think more commonly in my research and talking to medical experts, they would have made him a girl and they would have had surgery and it wouldn't have been a good thing necessarily.
Thank you. Because again, this is all new territory for me and for I'm sure a lot of our listeners to hear this conversation. So let's talk about the development of the character of Larry in terms of writing him, the casting of him. Let's talk about
Yeah.
because it's obviously a very, very important part of the film is to get the right actor, to get the right person for this.
Absolutely. And I saw men that were able to really have that kind of macho, because he had two extremes. He was very macho. I mean, he was driven. He had this testosterone push. He just was uncomfortable in his own skin. And then he had this other side where he cried a lot. So I found a lot of actors that could do one or the other. And it was finding someone who could do both and get there. And with Dominic, I knew he could get there. I knew he could, and he did.
Thank
And
you. Dominic Bogart is
Thomas
the
Bogart.
actor who
Yeah, and he
plays.
got there. He
Yeah.
really did get there, and I knew he could. And he also could do that rabid dog better than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, he's just scary when he's angry. And that was it. He had this kind of this uncomfortable way about him that was very verisimilitude with somebody who'd been on testosterone in the dose that he was taking every 10 days since he was 12 years old. And I call it like a push. He had this kind of uncomfortable push about him. And he did it so well. I was like, gosh, this is it. So for me, I knew I wanted him. I knew 6 months before we shot that I wanted to use him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's terrific in the performance. He really, really is asked to do quite a bit
Yeah.
of a lot of different things, and the way he interacts with Lily Willits, who is
Uh,
played by Gigi Heiss.
yeah. So
Gigi
good.
Heiss, it's a wonderful character. It kind of reminds me of it's sort of a Steinbeck aspect
Mhm.
to that relationship. And I've forgotten the
Oh,
story.
yeah. You mean Mice and Men?
Yeah, Mice and Men. There's for me there was an element of Mice and Men in that relationship.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think she's just, while she is a big childlike, kind of slow girl, she is the wisest one in the
Yeah,
entire holler. And it was through her absolute non-judgmental love for him
yeah,
that the transformation was able to happen,
Yeah.
not just for him, but for her too, and what he gave her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wonderful relationship that develops. Matt Bogart plays his father.
Yes.
Kay Lentz plays the mother. Those are two important, obviously important roles, but they do it very well. I
Oh,
thought Matt's performance as his dad is not didn't get too far out of the boundaries of what you would have, there's sometimes you go for an over the top performance in something like this, but I thought he did a wonderful job of being the father who obviously pushed his son into the life that he led, right?
he showed us, and it was my hope, my intent to show a compassionate view from everybody.
Yeah,
And father loved his son so much. By the time things were changing, it was no longer his son anymore. And I felt like we had to fall in love with Matt, the father. We had to in order to make this movie truly work. And he did it for us. He
yeah,
really made us fall in love with him. And the conflict was so, so heavy. It was so big. But there was no other way that this movie could have happened than the
yeah.
way the story was told, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I want to
Yeah.
quickly remind our audience, our listeners, that we're speaking with Honey Loren. She is the director and writer. What other hats did you wear in this? Were you producing as well in
I
this?
do have, yeah, I did produce on it with a bunch of other people, and
Yeah.
Brad Wyman and
Yeah.
Davey Robertson and Eric Bakken, and we all wore many hats, and
Yeah.
I did play a role in it as well. This is a smaller support role, and I wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we all wore many hats. Davey Robertson did the beautiful cinematography,
Yes.
edited
Yes.
it, and
It's
there
a
was just,
great look. It has a great look to it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
really does.
we all, like I said, wore so many hats. And also Davey was a producer on it as well.
Well, and the film is called Mistake. And just so people know, and you can go to destroyallmedia.com to find out more about the film. Now, do we have a release date for it?
Yeah, it's premiering in Sedona Film Festival the 23rd of February. That's the first date it will play there, and it'll also play on the 25th. And then it will play in several other festivals around the globe after that. And you can also go to honeylorn.net it gives a list of the places it'll be playing at. And um, so hopefully, and eventually it'll be released to,
Yeah. Has
the
it
broad world.
screened? I'm just curious about the reaction, what reaction you have gotten from
Yeah.
the film so far.
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, 300 or plus people it has been focus group too. And I must say the response has been over the moon, off the charts. I'm kind of blown away by the response. Um, a lot of people felt just the impact of the film. I couldn't have had a better response. I really couldn't have. And I'm just completely grateful for that.
There's something about the reaction, in specifically like the empathy for the character. It opened some people's kind of minds to
Uh,
this idea, this particular. Has that been some of it?
oh my gosh, yes. Here's the thing. I always say the way this movie can make you feel can change the way you think. And I'll go back to like even the farmers, where we shot this for some of this. They to see this one particular one who, when with the story and his mind open was the most amazing thing. Because people are not going to want to accept this story in the sense that it's not the norm. Here's the thing: I feel like it's told compassionately and it's non-preachy. It's affecting without preaching, and therefore I think it helps people to be more open to it. So,
This is a deeper question. I'm not
sure.
sure we have answers to these questions, so it's a little unfair, but
Yeah,
what is it that causes people to stake so much on something like gender identity? What is it?
it's fear.
It's fear.
Yeah, I think, this movie by and large is about being different. And being different doesn't mean you don't belong, but it being different is fearful for people. And I think that's the issue, is
But
fear.
but is it a matter of sexual identity that heightens it or adds a sort of an accelerant to that fear? Is that what you?
Absolutely. I think people can't get past, I mean, just forget about being born between the sexes. Just being homosexual, will just make people crazy,
Yeah.
as we all know, and sadly. So yeah, this fear of different is huge. And if there's one thing that I hope that this movie can do is to show that difference doesn't mean that you don't belong.
Well, congratulations. Again, it takes us on quite a journey on the arc of his story, of Larry's story and his family and the relationships that he has with the people along the way. Is you take us along for quite a journey in the sense of getting to know the people in the film and getting to understand the, as you said, without, kind of preaching to the choir here, there's a lot of nuances in the performances and in the story and in the fellow travelers along the way that we meet. So congratulations to you on this film.
Thank you so much. It
Oh,
means the world to me. I really appreciate it.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And I look forward, again, it's going to be screening at Sedona International Film Festival.
That is correct on the 23rd and the 25th. And after that, many other places here and in Europe. And so I would tell people to go to the website or honeylauren.net, where there'll be a list as they keep, come in. So
honeylauren.net.
yeah.
Very good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Honey Lauren, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you so much for this work mistake. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.